Hello, welcome to 21 This Week. I'm Susan Heltemes. Coming up next, Hogan asks for help, middle-class housing, transportation woes, and the impeachment debate goes on. We're joined today by voices from all sides. Former Rockville Mayor Susan Hoffmann, Verelyn Gibbs Watson, local business owner and former candidate for state delegate, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Legislative Affairs, Joel Rubin, and John Hurson, former Democratic Majority Leader. All of this and more. Stay tuned. This week, Governor Hogan wrote to U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin to move forward with putting Maryland's very own heroine, Harriet Tubman, on the $20 bill, as proposed by the Obama administration. And he wrote to Congressman Steny Hoyer for help on redistricting reform. Verelyn, although he may not be running for president, these are two high-profile actions for a low-profile governor. Is Hogan creating a higher image just in case?
Possibly. You know, I think Governor Hogan is the champion of all things common sense. As a woman of color, I personally am very excited about Harriet Tubman finally getting on this $20 bill. So I think what he's trying to do in pushing this along is a very common sense, nonpartisan focus.
And I had read somewhere that they postponed it because they were afraid the president would be upset. And so they just put it in the back drawer. And so we'll see what comes of it. Well, on July 1st, new minimum wages will take effect in Maryland. It's going to be $13 an hour for large employers and $12.50 for mid-size and small employers. John, is this going to create any hiccups at all in Montgomery County?
No. I actually think Montgomery County is well beyond that in terms of a minimum wage. I think Montgomery County is going to have no problems with this. I actually think in a lot of ways Maryland is ahead of the curve on all this minimum wage stuff. So that's good. I mean, we need to go past this. I'm not sure $13 an hour is adequate in the state of Maryland, but
it's going to get to 15 soon.
It's going to get to 15 soon, and that's good. And I think that's something that everybody needs to champion. So.
And I think it's good for the people of Montgomery County too.
Well, actually, as a small business owner, I gotta say, I mean, you're right from the standpoint of saying, yeah, Montgomery County is well on the curve, but I don't think it's accurate to say that it's not gonna be a problem, because for a lot of small business owners, it's already a problem. I know myself at my business, we've had to cut back a lot of internship programs and things like that we can't afford to do because of the fact that we can't afford to have extra staff to train these opportunities.
Did your pay increase then it'll go up on July 1st?
Oh yeah, I mean, because this minimum wage phase-in has been in effect in Montgomery County long before Maryland finally. So Maryland is just catching up. So
so Joel, on Thursday, an outdoor restaurant smoking ban for all of Montgomery County began. Is this change going to affect diners as they sit out in this nice weather eating?
Well, hopefully it's going to make it better and cleaner and more enjoyable. I don't see any downside impact of that. We've got 3 daughters, my wife and I. I don't want to be near smoke. Most people don't want to be near smoke, and it's a good quality of life.
And it's interesting that whole condo buildings are going smoke-free, like the Grosvenors are smoke-free.
Bars are smoke-free, condos are smoke-free. Pretty soon, walking down the street is going to be smoke-free too.
Except today I heard a very sad story. A woman told me that her kids have classmates who vape right during class. Right. And so that's the part that's scary. That they may not be smoking, but they're doing other.
I don't think totally smoke-free is really fair to people who actually smoke. I mean, I think it makes sense in outside places, but walking down the sidewalk, I'm not sure we're going to get there.
We're not there yet.
I know.
We're not there yet.
I'm not sure that makes sense.
Well, you could start lobbying for those smokers.
I don't like walking behind those people, I'll tell you that.
No, I know,
no,
but you have a choice to go across the street, too.
So on Tuesday, Susan, at a housing forum, County Executive Marc Elrich created a stir when he said Frankly, I don't believe in the missing middle. In Montgomery County, the greatest housing need is for low-income residents. He added, the county has more housing for middle earners than is being utilized. Susan, you were the mayor of Rockville and you dealt with housing issues. Is Marc Elrich correct, and does Montgomery County only have a dearth of low-income housing?
We do have a dearth of low-income housing, but what we really have is a dearth of affordable housing. And affordable means different things to different people. So even in the middle class, there is a shortage of what some people consider affordable in Montgomery County. Even with 2 incomes, people have to live in Frederick or have to travel even farther north. So saying that there is no concern or no issue, that there's not a problem beyond just the poorest of the poor is not true. The other thing, though, is that if you're going to need to create housing for the poorest of the poor, you must incentivize, in a development, you must incentivize providing 20%, 30%, whatever it is, for the poorest of the poor, so that there is a mix of housing.
Like the MPDU units.
MPDUs,
But then
yes.
you have the issue of transportation.
Well, we're talking about that a little later today, and that is certainly a problem. But focusing on the housing issue itself, it's not just the very poor, the very destitute, the Section 8 housing.
I'm selling my house and I'm blown away by the people who can't afford to buy it. I mean, it's scary what people can and
if you've been in your house a very long time, you don't really know what the issue is, because your house costs so much less than it sells for now. And imagine coming in and paying 3 times as much as you paid for your house when you first bought it.
Well, the housing issue is going to go on. We're going to be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. School is out for the summer, as they say, and in MoCo, the traffic should be better, but maybe not so much. John, the governor's transportation plan has incredible critics, and it just goes on and on. But you heard the county council transportation chief, Tom Hucker, this week talk about his plan, which is the first alternate plan I've heard of. What did he propose, and will it work?
Well, it's something that Montgomery County has been proposing for years. Years to deal with congestion, and it's been something that's been in front of the state government for years, and it involves a lot of what the governor's proposing, but a lot more things in terms of transit, and how the mix of those several things that Montgomery County's been proposing for years.
Well, he
and the governor's just ignoring it and just doing his own thing.
Well, Tom made 2 proposals that I thought were intriguing. One is to have traffic meters as cars go onto the Beltway, so you're metered in how soon you can get on, which they do in a lot of places where I've been. And the other thing is during rush hour you can drive on the left curb.
Right.
The left lane next to the barrier. So, but the governor said, "Oh, this is interesting." So, I guess we have to see.
No, I think the bad thing, and Tom talked about this a lot, is the governor's kind of ignored all of these previous proposals and ignored talking with the county, and it's like, all of a sudden he just wants to say, "Okay, we're going to have more lanes on the Beltway," and it's just like.
And some of them are toll lanes.
Dude, we've had lots of ideas in front of the state for years, and he's kind of ignored all that.
And Tom also said that we should be starting at 370 and going north on 270 as opposed to going south. But anyway, so Joel, citizens are complaining about the process, as John said, and the plan. Now, will it take decades like it did for the ICC, something like 30 years?
ICC was 50, by the way.
It was 50?
It's hard to imagine,
gracious.
but it was.
Well, look, this is politics driving policy. This announcement was made before the election last November. It was an announcement made on the back of an envelope, and now they're trying to fill it in. And in our experience on the Purple Line, as an example, the governor and his office, his administration has failed to execute a project on time and on budget. So yeah, this could be decades in the making. There's no reason to believe right now that this governor's office at the Transportation Department has a real clear idea about how to execute a good project, let alone include the community and those impacted by it to ensure that it's done well. And we've seen this time and again, it's happening again.
Well, what I find most intriguing is that County Executive Elrich hated the ICC. He is now promoting the use of the ICC so people don't go on the Beltway. So that's like a major step forward for Montgomery County, you know, that he's saying, well, people try the ICC and let's see what happens.
Well, and also, in fairness to the governor, I just feel that before Marc Elrich became the county exec, there was a previous county exec that the governor had many conversations with. And if you understand the logistics of how traffic and transit works, it is probably going to be decades, but that's just the nature of how it works. And one of the things that I always find so interesting is the people that are the most vocal critics, sometimes by the time the thing ultimately materializes, they may not be still walking the earth. So I know that's a little bit morbid to think about.
Well, but
we do have
Verelyn, we need to move on. But a Washington Post poll this week found that nearly 60% of Washingtonians feel that the drivers are so bad and break all the laws, worse than pedestrians, bikers, electric scooter drivers. No surprise to me, but is bad driving making our traffic congestion worse?
No, bad driving, good driving. The fact is the number of cars is what impacts the congestion. And I think, you know, to tie into a point that you were making earlier, I live up county, and anybody that's coming from Frederick onwards, there's a big bottleneck that anybody can pay attention to. And so I think if we're looking specifically at what's going on in Montgomery County, where we can have the most impact, we need to create solutions for and alternate routes for those up county, because once they kind of get through the bottleneck, it's just impacting everything else. So, you know, I think it's not really fair to say it's all about bad drivers.
A few more lanes is not going to reduce congestion.
No, it isn't going to do it alone.
But it's not just about adding a few more lanes. At some point, it has to be, all right, enough with the talking already, and let's move on to action. And I think that's one of the things.
And the governor didn't go north.
I completely agree with that. I mean, the thing about what he did was, I'm going to do this, and I'm the governor, and we're going to go. Well, this is not the way to get congestion.
And you're just turning it over to the private sector.
That's right. Yeah. Now, Susan, the biggest public-private partnership in this country. So, Susan, some of our county officials went car-free this week, and Paris wants to get rid of all parking meters within 5 meters of pedestrian crossways. Those are interesting, but what are we doing to think outside the box to make congestion better and to clean the air or keep the air cleaner?
Well, you know, you're talking about sort of planetary issues, so it's
but here in Montgomery County.
No, I understand. But what you have to do is you have to create an environment in which people are willing to get out of their car, if you know, from time to time, even if not all the time. So creating transit that's appealing and interesting and feels safe. I like being in my car. I admit it. It's convenient. I'd much rather drive an electric car, but I don't have an electric car. But I would have an electric car if I could.
Well, do you know what?
But also, things like the monorail, which I know sounds to some people like pie in the sky, I think a lot of people would take it because it's fun, it's fast, it's, I mean, it's
all
clean.
those things. And so on that note, I think we need to have a show in a few weeks where we all talk about throwing in our ideas for making the world a better place, especially in terms of congestion.
Oh, I'd like to be on that show.
Yeah, so would I. Okay, so the president set off an earthquake this week, as everybody knows, when he told ABC News that there is nothing wrong with getting oppo research, as he says, on your opponents from foreign nationals. He also stated he would not necessarily alert the FBI if that were to happen. When asked about the director of the FBI's declaration that if foreign nationals were to approach a campaign, that the FBI should be contacted, immediately the president declared that the director of the FBI is wrong. Panel, what are you thinking about impeachment today? And let's start with you, John. What are you thinking?
This is a lawless president. He does not pay any attention to the law. Kellyanne Conway today, he said, his own inspector general said that she should be fired. He said, no, not going to do it. I mean, this guy, that's all he's doing. He's breaking every law in every time it comes up. So that's how I feel about it.
So, Joel, what are you...
Let me just finish. I'm not sure impeachment makes a difference. What I wish everybody would do is go out and get active and make sure this guy never gets reelected.
I thought you were gonna
That's what is important here.
I
Don't
thought
waste
you were
our
go-
time on impeachment. Let's go out and beat this guy.
I thought you were going to say pray. Joel, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, look, it's a national security threat when the President of the United States says that foreign governments should be involved in American democracy. And it's inviting China to help. It's inviting Iran to help someone, North Korea, you name it. Where does
Don't
it
forget
end?
Russia.
Maybe Larry Hogan should run against Chris Van Hollen and have the Iranians help him, right? That's where this ends. So I think that impeachment, it's not going to work in getting him out of office, but a bright line needs to be laid as to what is and is not permissible. And right now, this behavior is not permissible. The danger is if we don't go towards impeachment, we're demonstrating as a country that it's okay to do. In the next election, there will be more meddling.
I think we demonstrate that none of us think this is okay. Certainly the
Right.
Democrats.
So what are you thinking this
The
week?
Republicans are useless. God forgive me. They are, no offense to
But there's Congressman Amash.
there is, okay.
He brings no
The
one.
Republicans in the Senate refuse to take responsibility. They will not act. They do not care. It is all about their getting reelected. And therefore, while I think he should be impeached, he has committed impeachable offenses. There is no doubt about it. I don't know that we get there in time before
Everybody
November of
agrees with that.
2020.
Everybody knows
He doesn't-
has done things.
well, wait a minute.
everybody.
I'm not going to say everybody
Verelyn's
knows
got
that.
one
Let me
chance.
finish. So therefore, I agree with you, John, that is our focus. Our focus needs to be for everyone to come out and vote for whoever
If we
is
have an
running
election
against
that's legitimate,
Donald Trump.
the danger
Okay,
is
Well,
that
wait a
it will
minute.
get
Let's
messy.
Verelyn speak
I
for a
agree
minute.
in part with some of the things that Susan and John have said. And the number one thing that I agree with that John has said is that I think we've been spending too much time talking about impeachment. And that at the end of the day, if people are so unhappy with the president, then they need to wait for 2020 and make their voices heard then. Until then, I just feel that it's a waste of everyone, whether it's Democrats, Republicans. I feel the way you feel about everyone, not just Republicans or not just Democrats. At the end of the day, we're spending so much time, so much energy on this world stage criticizing the leader of our country, the person who was elected to be that
But
position.
Verelyn-
And I think that it's unfair to characterize every single Republican up there as not doing enough or not doing anything, because we have no idea what
But
conversations are
Verelyn,
happening
the
behind
question
closed doors.
is, with each passing day, they're breaking more and more laws. And that's the part, like, can we wait 2 more years? Because it's on a daily basis.
If we impeach him, it's going to take at least 2 more years, and he's going to continue to break laws. Impeachment is not going to change his behavior.
Yeah, but
And I
the
think
president
recognize
admitted
or
that
understand-
collusion is okay.
If he did-
He doesn't
He
rec-
actually
So
said
the
that
law,
it's okay to
the
have
president
support
is
from a
entitled to his
foreign
opinion.
country.
But the law is very clear about whether
Right, so
whether
he's
accepting that
lawless.
information.
It's against the law.
That's not the word that came out of my mouth.
He may not have known
But
that it was against the law, but now he does, and he
right.
still doesn't
But
care.
he was at the time, he was asked his opinion, and he gave his opinion. At the end of the day, do I think that we should change the law or the law isn't the law? No, that is not what we're saying here at all. But to your point, impeachment isn't going to change the things that people, quote
But we're
unquote, are
talking
unhappy
politics.
about.
The Constitution
Yeah.
makes it very clear. High crimes and misdemeanors, there are actual objectives as a country that we should be living towards. And one of them is to not have a president in office who is there based upon foreign influence.
Yes.
And in this case, knowingly. So I think there are some lines that as a country we need to try to observe here, not just get into whether or not the polls say it's okay.
So then, but why are you holding only the Republicans responsible for that?
No,
I mean,
no,
they're
no,
not-
We're not.
Actually,
That's not what I was
my problem
saying.
is
What I'm saying
we don't
is
have the
if
time. We don't have the time before the election
Right.
to do what you're
Practically.
asking.
Okay, but
What's the
John,
count of
which is
120
impeach
people
the
Let me
guy.
respond to Verelyn.
Democratic nomination?
I think it's
has the
important.
floor.
Your question is important because I'm not ganging up on Republicans per se. Even if the House brought the case because they're the prosecutors, I think, and then the
Senate is
the Senate
jury.
is the jury.
Yes.
We know now that they will not vote to find him guilty.
Mitch McConnell says he'll stall it, period.
That's
it'll
a
never
whole
happen.
separate issue.
But you know what?
So
Sometimes
therefore, wait a minute. Therefore, that is why the Republicans are under the spotlight, because they have not, under any circumstances, done the right thing about this man.
Unlike during Nixon.
There was a piece of legislation that was up. I'm going
In the
to
Senate
now make this
yesterday.
not evergreen.
Mark
that,
Warner's
that was
legislation,
turned
yeah.
down. The Republicans voted against it.
And it was that if this were to happen, you had to inform
To
the
go
FBI.
to the FBI.
Right,
But at the end of the
which
day-
is already the
At
law.
the end of the
This
day,
is just like
if-
backing
I'm
up
not
the law.
mistaken. If I'm mistaken, I'm happy to be corrected on this. If this is where the Democrats want to go, Nancy Pelosi has, as far as I'm concerned, all the power to kind of move this forward. I think in response to what the original question was, at the end of the day, is focusing on impeachment what's going to be best for our country? Is it going to help our economic conditions? Is it going to help, international affairs? I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's not the best use of our collective
Right, nobody
time.
wants
That's
it.
That's just my opinion.
It's not like a
Yeah.
policy desire. Democrats ran on health care and won convincingly in November. It's
you
because
have, I mean,
we have
I say it jokingly that
every
there's
single
over
day
100
we're getting
Democrats
more
running
evidence
right
that this
now
is a problem.
for the Democratic nomination. But what I'm saying is that if even a fraction of that time or a fraction of those candidates and the energy that's spent, you have all these people running on a platform of just being anti-Trump
We
and
got
not
to go
really
right
focus-
there,
That's
and
not-
I
okay.
don't think that's the case.
That
But
is- I
anyway,
don't-
we are going to be right back for parting shots, and I know this will go on during the break. Okay, now with parting shots, and we're going to start with Susan. And they're short this week.
Yeah, okay. Well, really quickly, and this is actually, you all brought me to this, which is what I was going to talk about. Mitch McConnell has refused to consider any legislation, and I couldn't understand what was going on because some of it is relatively benign, and now I realize he will not allow his Senate, his Republican senators, to vote on anything, so they won't be on the record, whether it's a good position or a bad position. All they need to do is get reelected, and therefore they have no record that might hurt them. And
Okay.
that's not leadership.
Verelyn, you're next.
Well, on a different note, I wanted to take this opportunity to give a shout out to all the wonderful Montgomery County Public School administrators. Everyone's celebrating today because school is out, but not for them. They're back hard at work all summer long, and I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate what you do.
Joel, you're next.
Well, every day, hundreds of thousands of Montgomery County residents go to work in the federal government and they observe the Hatch Act. Unfortunately, Kellyanne Conway, the president's counselor, does not. She was recommended to be fired. It's not very difficult to keep politics out of the workplace. Unfortunately, we have a lawless White House right now, and that needs to be fixed.
Okay, John, what's your parting shot?
Kind of disappointed with what's going on right here in Montgomery County with Damascus High School. I mean, that's, we need to really, this is a high school in our county that we need to investigate this and be really serious about this. So,
Are you alluding to the fact that they had practiced this last week and they weren't supposed to?
Yeah.
They broke the rules.
And they broke the rule
rules.
again, and they can't play the first game. They have to forfeit. Well, I have a parting shot tonight, too, and this is really important, everyone. As you saw, there was a deck that fell off last week. I think it was in Germantown. They were celebrating a birthday. And so the county government is offering free inspections of decks. Anybody in the county can get a free inspection of your deck to make certain that doesn't happen in your home. So all you have to do is call the county number 311 and they will get you to the right people, and you too can have your deck inspected so that nobody gets hurt again.
That's proof of great quality of life in Montgomery County.
It is.
That's
good government.
fantastic.
It
You're
is.
absolutely
So
right.
whatever you do, if you're concerned, call 311 and the county will send out an inspector. So that's it. This was interesting. This is lively. I enjoyed my time with you tonight. Thanks to all the panel and to the crew. They make it worthwhile. They make us laugh. They keep us on time. And for you watching each and every week for Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show, be sure to follow us on social media, and I'll see you next time. I'm Susan Heltemes. Bye for now.